Ladies and gentlemen, I'm here tonight because I first heard about the great work of the Campaign for America's Future from people I respect, like actor Mike Farrell. And because I've met the amazing Marge Tabankin, who is on the board. And then I got on the CAF's mailing list. You people are busy, busy, busy. I wanted to participate because I have great respect for the people who are standing up to the political crazies who shut down our government and were willing to break the entire world economy in order to make a point. And can anyone really tell what the Tea Party's point is? It seems to me the Campaign for America's Future is not just fighting the crazies, they are reminding all of us that we are a majority in our own country, and that if the majority rules, we should be investing in jobs, and we'd be protecting Social Security and Medicare, and we'd be reminding the politicians that they work for us. So talk a little more about the campaign, and please welcome, that would be me, please welcome Bob? So talk a little more about the campaign. That would be me talking about the campaign. But why? Bob, who has been itching to get up here all night, to a point of obsession, Bob. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, Bob.
Whoa! She couldn't get that last name. Well, I'm here not to be honored, although it's been a pleasure, but to honor you and to thank you. For the campaign and for its sister institute, I want to thank you for your support, for your commitment, for your leadership. Tonight, your generosity has exceeded all of our expectations and all of our hopes. You've set new records. And you've generated, you may have noticed, the thickest tome of love letters since people used to write love letters. So thank you. And I want to pay a particular thanks to the talent that helped pull off this event, particularly Natalie Shear, Chelsea Hathaway, and Tamara Leopold of Natalie Shear Associates. And my colleagues at the campaign, with a special thanks to the guy who fielded all the spears, dodged all the bullets, and made the thing happen, Roger Hickey. Now tonight, the spotlight is on these extraordinary progressive champions. Reverend Barber, you teach us and inspire us, and your voice is heard across this country. Leo Gerard, we are honored to count you as an ally and a friend. You are Labor's visionary, and hell, if you hadn't been born in Canada, we'd be drafting you to run for president. And Marge Tabankin, that would be a delight to see you take on Ted Cruz. Marge, you're up next. You've been a co-conspirator, a guide, a friend for over 3 decades. When I think back on it, you have done amazing work, girl, just amazing work. So a bit about the campaign. We serve as a strategic center for progressive ideas and organizing. Our annual conferences, because of your generosity, will continue to bring leaders and activists from across the progressive community to share the ideas, the energy, the strategies like that of Reverend Barber to take back the American dream. When we launched the campaign, Republicans controlled everything in this city. But we beat Bush when he tried to privatize Social Security. And we continue to defend and try to extend Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid and basic security for all Americans. With Leo's help, we helped forge the Apollo Alliance that brought labor and Greens together to call on America to lead in the green industrial revolution. And that call has more urgency even today. When Nancy Pelosi became Speaker and President Obama took the White House, we helped build the drive for universal health care. And we didn't get everything we wanted, but forget about the objections, the snafus. As we go these days, over these next months, millions of Americans are going to have access to affordable health care who never had it before. Now we're bringing the heat to Education Spring as parents and students across the country are defending public schools and demanding at least the basics from pre-K to affordable college for every child so that every child has the opportunity to learn. And we will continue relentlessly to pound on the need for good jobs, for making this economy work for working people. We will not accept and we will not put up with what they call the new normal, an economy scarred by mass unemployment, stagnant wages, kids sitting on the couch unable to find a job, where working families sink and the richest few pocket all of the rewards of growth. And these days, with all that shit, it's easy to despair. Good jobs are scarce, inequality grows worse, labor's under siege, Wall Street is more concentrated, money politics more suffocating, the right is ever more crazy. But we know that a rising majority stands with us on basic bread and butter issues. And we know that the conservative era is bankrupt. It has failed. The big con is over. We can revive the American dream. The ideas are there, the activists are there, the energy is there, the majority is there, the passions are there. It will take a movement. It will take people in motion to force the change, as Reverend Barber has started to demonstrate in North Carolina, as Leo has demonstrated across the country, as Marge Tabankin has helped build through the years. None of us can do this alone. We all must do our part. And for our part, I can tell you that the campaign will stay on the case. And together we can and we will rebuild the American dream. Now, it's my pleasure to introduce a great leader of that movement, and I haven't seen her tonight, so I hope she's here.
I'm here.
There she is. You all know who she is. Working families have no greater tribune. There is nobody up there who makes more sense and takes less nonsense. She knows how the rules got rigged. She knows what must be done to make them work for working people, and she is not afraid to crack heads. She hasn't been in Washington long, but you know, the agency she conceived and set up, the Consumer Financial Protection Agency, has already returned over $1 billion to consumers from the abuses of credit card companies. She is now the senior senator from Massachusetts. Please welcome the leader of the Democratic wing of the Democratic Party, Senator Elizabeth.
Thank you. Yes, this is fun. This is fun. Thank you. It is so good to be here with so many progressives. I love it. I really do. I feel like I'm at a family reunion. Well, actually, if you knew my family, this is better than a family reunion. I want to say thank you very much to Bob and to Roger. Thank you for inviting me here tonight so that I could participate in this event.
But most of all, thank you for all you're doing over and over and over for Campaign for America's Future. You are making it one of the leaders in the progressive movement. We need you, and you're out there making it happen. Thank you. Thank you. You know, that's what this really is. This is a movement. All of you here in this room, you are our leaders. You are leaders in your states, you are leaders in your cities and towns, you are leaders in your neighborhoods, you are leaders in your organizations. You are the people who will make this movement happen. You are the ones who will lead us into the future. And so I want to thank you for being here and taking energy when we're all here together. It's powerfully important. So I thought when I had a chance, Bob raised something that's very important to me, and I thought, you know, if I'm going to get to be here with all of these leaders, I thought I'd tell a little story, because I thought it might be fun. And the story is about something Bob mentioned. It's that a few years ago, I had an idea for a Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. Thank you. And the idea behind it was really pretty simple. It was that we'd have really a little agency, relatively speaking, that would protect people from the tricks and traps in their credit cards. It would protect them from fraudulent mortgages. It would protect them from getting cheated in little ways and big ways over and over and over. It would stop that. That was the idea. So I thought, okay, I've got this idea. It's 2008. We've seen the big financial crisis. We've seen what goes wrong when you can target families, because make no mistake about understanding the crisis of 2008. It started one lousy mortgage at a time. It started by targeting families and hurting families. That's how it all got started. So my idea was, okay, we're talking about now change. We don't want this crisis to hit us again. So I came down here to Washington. And I didn't know much of how you do this. So I went around, I talked to as many people as I could, and a lot of our friends. I went to see as many as I could. And I told them about this idea for an agency. And almost to a person, they had the same two responses, different words, but the same two responses. The first was, that is a great idea. You could actually make a real difference in the lives of working families. You could actually do something that makes government work a little better here. You could actually do something that would help level the playing field just a little bit between the giant banks and the ordinary family. That was the first thing they said. Second thing they said was, don't do it. Now I want you to think about this, why they always said don't do it. They said don't do it because you cannot possibly win. You can't possibly win because the largest financial institutions will make it their number one priority to kill that little agency. And they will put together the largest lobbying force ever assembled on the face of God's green earth to have one goal, and that is to make sure that agency does not make it into law. So don't do it because you can't win. Now, I am naive in the ways of Washington. So I would hear this, and what I thought people were saying to me was, try harder. I really did. I read way too many Nancy Drew books growing up, you know, kind of intrepid girl policymaker. And so I thought, okay, so how do you get this done? If you don't just come talk to the people who actually make law and have it happen that way, how do you get this done? And a friend of mine said, you need to get organized. So I said, great, we'll get organized. So I set up a conference call. Had 2 people on it, which I think legally does not qualify as a conference call. But 2 became 4, and 4 became 10, and 10 became 50. And then the idea of connecting with groups, with others who were already organized, began to dawn on me. And all I can say every time I think about this consumer agency is God bless the groups that came in. God bless the AFL-CIO. God bless the steelworkers. God bless SEIU. God bless AARP. God bless PCCC. God bless Move On. God bless Consumers Union that got out there and got active on this. They did it. And they helped build a movement. It was a movement around financial reform. Leo, you were part of this, you remember. A movement around financial reform and a movement that said we will have this consumer agency. We are not going to come out of this crisis without something that makes it just a little safer for American families. They got in there, they fought for it, and you know the answer. We won. We got the agency. People who get tricked on other financial products have got a way to get some redress for it, got a way to get some help. Mortgages, you can't get cheated on a mortgage today the way you got cheated 5 years ago. Those are real differences, real differences. So let me tell you what I take away from that, because this is what matters. I learned 2 lessons from this thing. The first one is, when people tell me you can't get anything done in Washington, give up now, there's nothing that can happen, I say back to them, we can win. That's the lesson. We can win. Yep. We gotta fight. We gotta fight. And look, you don't get anything you don't fight for. But if you fight, you got a chance to win. And that's what we did. So the first thing I learned, we can win, but the second thing I learned is we win because the things we are fighting for are America's agenda. Our agenda is America's agenda. We don't have to get out there and persuade people of things that aren't quite true. Give them some wiring on why it is you're all going to be better off if we just take a little slice out of Social Security. How it is you're all going to do just fine if there's not health care available to you. We're not trying to sell that. What we're doing is we're fighting for the things that Americans want. They know that Wall Street needs tougher rules, stronger enforcement. People know that. When we fight for it, we fight for America's agenda. They know that we need to raise the minimum wage. Anyone see some of those elections yesterday? When we fight for that, people know what we're fighting for. They know that we are here to protect Social Security and Medicare. When we fight for that, we fight for what America wants. People know we need to rebuild our infrastructure. We don't have a country that works if we don't build roads and bridges and power grids and clean energy. People understand that. When we fight for infrastructure, we fight for America's agenda. People believe in equal pay for equal work and a woman's right to choose. When we fight for those, we fight for America's agenda. And I gotta say, after today, people believe in equal employment opportunities and equal marriage, and equal means equal. But that is what we have to remember. We're out there fighting for what people want, for what people believe in. We're just the ones who give it voice. And today, I'm here to be able to have the chance to honor a great leader in our progressive movement, a real champion of progressive causes, Marge Tabankin. Now, many of you know Marge as someone who gives time, who gives money, but most of all, who gives energy, an amazing and seemingly bottomless amount of energy to help progressive causes and to help progressive candidates. That's what Marge does. Marge didn't set out with this in mind. When she was a kid in college, she was beaten as she tried to cover the Vietnam War demonstration at the University of Wisconsin. Her injuries took her to the emergency room, but somehow Marge had the energy to pick up a payphone, call the New York Times, and make sure they got the story of what happened. That's Marge. That's Marge. But with that, her career in journalism was over, because that day in Wisconsin, Marge decided she didn't want to just cover the news. She wanted to fight to change the news. That's who Marge is. So Marge became the first woman president of the National Student Association. God bless. Anyone? Yep. She was the head of VISTA during the Carter administration. She was, I'm going to have to slow down on these. She was executive director of Hollywood Women's Political Committee. She's been a philanthropist, and with the ARCA Foundation, the Streisand Foundation, the Righteous Persons Foundation, she has been out there fighting for progressive causes. And Marge has been doing what we all do, what we all are trying to do. She has organized, organized, organized. Over the years, Marge has helped progressive groups and causes, both international and domestic. She worked to improve conditions in Central America. She stood up for a woman's right to choose. She's helped elect progressive candidates, including first-timers like me. Thank you, Marge. Marge is a devoted family member. She was in her 20s when she returned home for a year to care for her mother before she died from cancer. She moved her mother-in-law to Los Angeles, taking her out every Sunday before she passed away. She's been a loving mother to Lauren. She's an adoring grandmother to 6-year-old Elliot. I think Marge's mom and dad would be proud of her, happy that she devoted her life to the Jewish value of repairing the world, and delighted that she married activist filmmaker Earl Katz, a healer of the planet. So I wanted to be here tonight to have a chance to thank her personally, not only for her help in my Senate race and the confidence she showed in a first-time candidate, but also for her help with the consumer agency when she gave crucial early support when we were first launching the spark of an idea that became that agency. Marge was there, and I will always, always be grateful. Now, usually, Marge works behind the scenes, supporting people who have visible roles. But tonight, we bring Marge out front and center to say thank you for a lifetime spent fighting for progressive causes. Please join me in welcoming and congratulating the recipient of the America's Future Lifetime Achievement Award, Marge Tabankin.
Those of us who've been in the struggle for human rights and civil rights and justice, globally or domestically, have always been blessed by the fact that Marge Tabankin is not only in our ranks, but one of the great voices in our midst.
This is a woman who's made an extraordinary contribution to this country.
She was very active in the student movement and later as an advocate and an organizer for young people. She was not the typical bureaucrat that you will see in Washington.
I think our movement and much that we have tried to do in the last quarter of a century has been significantly enhanced by what Marge Tabankin has brought to the table.
I'm thrilled that tonight the campaign is honoring my longtime collaborator, Marge Tabankin. Our many years of working together have been so meaningful and rewarding to me. Marge, you're not only a close, trusted advisor, but also a very close and dear friend. As the director of the Hollywood Women's Political Committee, where we first met in 1987, you harnessed the energy and passion of women in the industry to further a more progressive political agenda. You're always searching for ways to give opportunity to all and leaven the often unequal playing field of American life. Marge, you lead from the heart, but brilliantly support your beliefs with a depth of knowledge that inspires and amazes me. Because of your leadership over the last 3 decades at the Streisand Foundation, we've had real impact on issues we both care deeply about. I am so excited about our newest pursuit, the establishment of the Women's Heart Center at Cedars-Sinai Hospital in Los Angeles, to bring much needed awareness of women's heart disease. I hate to think of our country without people like you, Marge, willing to sacrifice for a higher ideal, people who won't take no for an answer when tirelessly pursuing justice. As your friend, I think Tom Hayden once said, Marge is part of a group of people that tried to invent activism as a permanent way of life. And she succeeded. That activism and energy hasn't been used in pursuit of your personal gain, but from a patriotic calling to make our nation live up to its higher ideals. How grateful we all are that you have. I love you, Marge, and I'm really so proud of the work that we've done together over the last, 26 years. And I look forward to learning from you and laughing with you for many, many more. Congratulations.
Okay, I'm gonna put this down.
Okay, good. And I'm gonna watch it.
Okay. You can watch anything. Oh, I just love seeing my life in every size I've ever been in, every hairstyle I've ever had, and just what happens when you turn 65. You just get to look at this retrospective and, oh my God. Yeah, thank God for brown hair dye. I wouldn't look so great without it. First of all, does it get any better than this, Senator Warren? How grateful we all are to have this amazing, ethical, poised, brilliant warrior in the public interest, now in the Senate. One of the things about Lifetime Achievement Awards is you get to do it, and you're doing it once, and so you're going to put it out there, right? So let me just say that I was getting a little frustrated with electoral politics. This is a daily argument in my home. Many politicians were really creating major disappointments, and all of a sudden, into all of our lives comes this amazing, authentic woman who is just the opposite of all of that experience. And she says, you know, what she believes, and she convinces people to vote for her, a college professor from Harvard. I didn't have professors like you. But she gave a lot of people hope, and in my home and in our household, she really gave me hope that staying in that game, finding the right people, can really pay off. know, we desperately hope to be able to keep working in a political system that doesn't feel alien and corrupt. And election victories along the way, how sweet they are, sometimes can really lift your spirits. And that's what Elizabeth did for me. So, thank you for everything, for being here for me tonight, for being here for all of us. And, you know, I'll lick stamps for you. I'll do anything, so just call. I don't make that offer to a lot of people. Tonight's very difficult for me because, as Elizabeth said, I hate this. I hate being in front of the stage. I hate not being the one telling everybody else what to do. I love telling everybody what to do. But I did it because of who asked, and who asked was the Campaign for America's Future. And after sitting at board meetings with Leo and working for so many years with Bob and Roger, it was pretty hard to not say yes. So here I am. What? You know, the staff at the campaign does amazing work. They get paid very little, but are relentless advocates for the kitchen table issues that really affect the daily life of every working American and every poor person in this country. Their commitment to a decent job that pays a living wage, to quality medical care, to retirement benefits, to a fair and good education that doesn't bankrupt America's young people. Thank you, Lauren, for teaching me that. And for recognizing that together we're more powerful than we are when we're separate, and that our main allies we need to be respectful of and partner with in labor, who have for so many decades led all of us to a better lifestyle, not just their members, all of us. To Bob and Roger, okay, you guys, you're wonky, but for people like me, you sort of break these really complicated ideas down and you explain what they really mean to real people, and people like me need that. So I am so grateful that I can just call you and ask, okay, so what does this really mean? What is this chain CPI thing? And what, you know, I mean, stay being wonky and stay being able to translate that wonkiness into things that matter in our lives. But I really want to say especially one diversion. Nothing like following who I had to follow here tonight, huh? Yeah. Only one time in my life was it even worse. I mean, it doesn't get much worse than what we've had tonight. Leo, this amazing, I've had a crush on you forever, labor leader, and Reverend Barber, who I've never been exposed to other than in the media. But years ago, and anybody here who knows David Fenton can tell you this is true, as a student leader, I had to follow Allen Ginsberg reciting Howl while people were waiting to hear John Lennon and Yoko Ono sing. Sort of, you want to know why I hate this? That's why I hate this. By the time you get to this stage in the program, everybody has said everything better than you could ever say it. So for me, it's going to be now personal, because a lot of these notes, everybody has already said already. Thank you to each of you that turned out for me tonight, those of you that were able to be here, and for many of you who sent very generous checks who were not able to be here. But honestly, I really am, and everybody else sort of says this, but I truly mean that. I am here representing all of us. You know, a bunch of us in this hall tonight grew up together. We traveled together, we fed each other, we got into stupid fights with each other. We did a lot of things, mostly legal, some not. But we really became an extended family, and while Tom jokes about creating activism as a way of life, there are people here that literally it is now 40 years, and we are still together. So for everything we've done together, and for all of us who've known each other, and the generation that I'm talking about, you know who you are. Thank you for being on this journey and for bringing me along with you. Really, not just for the food and the housing, but not just for the bad romantic decisions, but really for curing my soul and keeping me together. Like all of us, people have come before us and they have been real mentors. And I know that there were very special people who lit the path for me. And God, it's really strange being old. But these people were there for me when I was really young. And I just would like to say that part of who I am was because of who took me into their life, who mentored me, who adopted me essentially, who picked me up when I fell, who yelled at me, who guided me, screamed at me, adored me, but never made it easy. And some of those people are Michael Harrington, Saul Alinsky, Tom Hayden, Dick Boone, Les Dunbar, David Hunter, and Bill Dodds. They were pretty amazing teachers. Not easy, very tough, but really there. And found this young woman who came from Newark, Wisconsin, and from Newark, New Jersey via Madison, Wisconsin, and landed in Washington, and just took me in, supported me financially, gave me strategic advice, made me crazy with what are you going to do tomorrow, and if you do this, what's going to happen, and is that stupid or what? You know, I mean, it was like, it like was Marine boot camp for an organizer. But I learned so much. And they really did explain that I'm part of a legacy of what went before. And to the young people in this room, I only hope that our generation can be to you what these people were to us. First of all, there are a lot of you here tonight. You are amazing. You are brilliant. You are fun. You are collaborative. You are global in your thinking. And you have that damn tech savvy, which I swear to you, no matter how much I get taught by geek squads, I will never figure out. Thank God I can now do email. But you guys rock, and you are gonna take that whole history and take it forward to sort of hopefully finish the dreams that my generation started but couldn't quite finish. And I am so grateful that many of you have been personally involved in my life and have laughed with me, giggled with me, helped me when I was down, and really made me look good when I needed it. I'm gonna say to you what was said to me, which change doesn't come easy. It doesn't just materialize in the air. It doesn't happen in, by default. We've all heard that and we all know it, but it is so true. It is a long, long continuing struggle, and thank God we have had the victories we've had and how sweet they were, because God knows we had a lot of failures, made a lot of mistakes, were really stupid at times, but you know what? We've moved forward, and women have a right to choose. I'm not paying for underground abortions. I mean, it's so crazy that when I was at the University of Wisconsin, I was talking long distance to a woman in Chicago who I didn't know, helping on the Underground Railroad with young women in Madison who needed abortions and trying to get them through this woman in Chicago. And then I find out as I'm living in her house for a little bit that it's Heather Booth, you know? I mean, Heather and I are these two people that didn't even know each other, and that was us. So, you know, I had those people in my life, and I just really hope for those young people here, and young means anything 20 and up, okay? I learned when the State Department sent me to a conference of young Soviet leaders, they thought young was 55 and up. By the time, I mean, literally, their youth leaders were between 55 and 65. That's who came. I was in pigtails, combat boots, and like a beret on my head, and they showed up with lots of vodka, and they were all between 55 and 65. And I was trying to explain to them the notion of American philanthropy, which was businesses create capital, they make lots of money, and then they give it away. And I'm trying to explain this in Sea Island, Georgia, at the Cloisters Hotel, to a bunch of members of the Soviet Communist Party, right? Okay. So if I could do that, I can stand up here. Many of us know a lot about the famous people that we follow in their footsteps. You know, we all know about the Martins, the Nelsons. My personal, most transformative, exciting moment in life was meeting Nelson Mandela. And I will forever be grateful, because when I worked for Bill Clinton, and for his election, they called and said, do you want to come to Washington? Do you want to come back? You were so, you know, involved in Washington politics before you moved to California. And I said, no, I only want one thing. I've raised millions of dollars for you. I want to meet Nelson Mandela. And Maggie Williams, who worked for Bill Clinton, called me and said, Nelson Mandela is coming to the White House. We would love you to join us and be at the dinner. Which, honestly, it made my life. That was like enough for me. This man was this presence in my life that you could be your highest self, you could go through hell, and you could still have grace in your eyes, joy in your heart, and be tough as nails. So I got to meet my hero, and very few people really ever get that privilege and that blessing and that joy. And talk about someone who doesn't disappoint. This was a man who never disappointed for a second. And I will just never forget, you know, by the time my event with him was over, I couldn't speak. I was just like, you would have thought I'd met Elvis Presley when I was 15 years old. I was like, I was hopeless. I was like, I cannot believe I was just with Nelson Mandela, right? So we all know about those people, but a lot of you younger people might not know about the Wilmas, the Ellas, the Fannie Lou's, the Julians, the Johns, the people that aren't as famous. You might not know Dolores Huerta, but you do know Cesar Chavez. But that's who everybody in this room who tuned after me is. You are those people, those foot soldiers in the absolute army seeking change, that this country can be what it should be, what it's capable of being, what it's wealthy enough to provide to every single American. And that's who you are, and I am another foot soldier with you. We are not those brilliant names, but we are people putting one foot in front of the other, trying to be as strategic as we can, knowing to keep giving and even give a little more, and that it's worth it. It's worth having a life of purpose and meaning. It means everything to be able to go to bed at night knowing that you are spending your day and your life trying to serve other people and help things be better for other people. I mean, it's better than any amount of money or any job, because no one in my life, even though I've been on many different payrolls, no one really employed me for, it was like not a job. It was my life, and I got paid to be me. And I just wish everybody could have that experience, because it's rare, and I must have been smart enough to figure out how to convince these people to pay me, so. But you know, it was such a privilege to be able to do that. But like me, you all are also stubborn people, you know, and you won't take no. And some of us have been in prison. Friends of ours have lost their lives. Others have just volunteered. Many have registered voters, counted those ballots to make sure they were being counted honestly, made sure those people that turned out to vote were being counted. And now I know more about that than I ever wanted to know because my husband made a documentary on it, and I went through hours and hours and hours of footage of people standing in lines and having their votes stolen. So I get it. But thank God there are people like you who are out there making sure those people's voices and votes are counted. I grew up a cultural Jew, not a very religious Jew, and one of my favorite people of faith is Jim Wallace, who said to me not too long ago, Marge, it's all about hope. And hope is believing in spite of evidence, and then watching the evidence change. So when I get depressed and wonder if change is possible, I think about all those previous struggles, once thought by people in those times to be impossible. And I see the long way we've come and how far and how much more transformation is left to accomplish. But you will feel so good just knowing that you were that foot soldier in the army of social change. There are a few people here I want to personally acknowledge because you put up with me through a lot. My sister and college roommate, Marcy, my fabulous young daughter who chose to have me as her mom at the age of 7, my dear friends Peter and Noel and dear Mary, who's no longer with us, for the magic that you brought into my life and for letting me go on that journey of sharing that magic with you as you took your spirit and your songs and your excitement to people as you healed people all over the world. And despite the fact that I can't carry a tune and sing off key, and despite the fact that I drop backstage a very expensive guitar, I mean, I wasn't being paid as a roadie. I was me, you know? But for someone who loves folk music, it doesn't get any better than that. And that piece of my life is just emblazoned in my heart and soul and really has been the soundtrack of much of my life. You will never know what those years in the 80s and our work together really, really did for me at a time in my life that was very difficult. To my friends from Vista who showed up tonight, thanks for being there for one of the most challenging and important years of my life. It's where I learned the most, but God, it was hard. And thankfully I stayed out of jail, and you kept me out of jail. It didn't keep me out of testifying in front of congressional hearings for 14 hours under oath, but I did obligate millions of federal dollars to young people throughout this country who were able to dedicate 2 years of their life to helping low-income people empower themselves. To my ARCA clan and crew, if this is philanthropy, it's amazing because you were impactful, innovative, daring, risk-taking, and you make it fun. And I'm still there, and I started in 1981, but you know, I'll be there with my walker because I love it. There's someone who's not here tonight, but who has been one of my biggest cheerleaders in life, and his spirit is here. He is not on this earth anymore, but so much of what I was able to do and so much that I was able to do with all of you was because of the generosity and the love and the support of Smith Bagley. And on a personal level, and I have to say this, they even gave me my Elizabeth and Smith gave me my wedding. And this gorgeous young woman, Vaughn, who was my goddaughter, was my flower girl. So they were there, and the entire Bagley family has just been there for so many years in giving of their generosity, their love, their friendship, and their support. To Janet for taking me to very dangerous places, not leaving me in war zones, and making sure that I got home safely, and then staying in my life to talk about everything all the time. To my extended California family, Marilyn, Alan, Kathy, I rely on them daily. And to two amazing young women, Rupa and Rachel. Rachel, my partner. Rupa, who is the happening Hindu. She's fabulous. And she is like the person who makes me look good all the time. Thank you for helping me be the best me I could be in California, and everything we accomplished in the last years and decades is because you were doing it with me. Really, I love you as if you were family. And to my clients who thankfully put their trust in me, to Barbara and Stephen and Katie and JJ and Andrew and Ellen, and actually one of them's here, Monica and her husband Phil, for trusting me and my firm with your generosity and your philanthropy and your friendship. It meant so much to me these last 26 years that my clients really got who I was and supported myself and Rupa and Rachel in doing what we believed should be done. To my newest colleagues at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center, and to the most amazing rock star, Dr. Merz. If anybody needs a cardiologist, she's it. By the way, I have no health problems. This is not about my personal heart situation. This is about the fact that I felt like I was literally living in a cave. All of a sudden, I start learning that more women die of heart disease than men. More women die of heart disease than all cancers combined. The media doesn't cover it. No one knows it. I go to 5 dinner parties in a row and start asking people if they know this, all with people who at least read the New York Times and often the Wall Street Journal. No one, they all think I'm crazy and making it up. And I got pissed because I then find out that research for nearly 50 years is being done, of course, on all men. And this epidemic is killing about 400,000 to 500,000 women a year, many within a year or two of their first incident, and nobody knows. And then I meet this team from Cedars that have just made it their passion to move that rock and uncover this situation and begin to build a national campaign to bring this to the attention of women and their health issues all over the world. So it's exciting to be on this journey with you and to really feel like we are at the beginning pioneers when hopefully, just like the breast cancer champions did for us, we will be doing for the women that follow us. And even though this is not the Academy Awards where you're told you have to thank your husband, you know, I want to thank my husband because he puts a smile on my face every day, and damn it, he challenges me every day to be the best me I can be. And sometimes that's really hard, and I had to give up plastic bottles and all this stuff. But thank God that he does, because it's never boring. I love you. When I'm done, I'm going to be happy because I'm being indulged with like a few minutes of my favorite music. So I just want to say before I leave this stage or whatever it is, and I am never doing this again, that, that I think we're going to all be judged by a few questions. And as people look back at us, how we answered these questions is going to determine what they think. And a couple of those questions are, will we shape our future or will we be shaped by it? Will we build community or hide behind walls if we can afford to? Will we take the risks necessary for change to occur? And will we help those who need us so that they too can realize their dreams? And on a personal level, will we strive for balance? Not so good at that. But will we strive for balance that takes into account our spirit, our families, our communities, our country, our global reality, and our home, planet Earth, the place where all of us are connected to one another, the place where we're all part of something so much bigger than ourselves, and the place that is so fragile with the poison being pumped into the atmosphere. So I now understand what carbon is, thanks to my husband, and I understand what methane is, but I, more than that, in a wonky way, want to say that we're poisoning the planet, and it puts everything and everybody and every young person and their children in jeopardy, and we have to stop. So, oh my God, I'm so glad this is over. So, thank you for your commitment, for your friendship, for being here, for your support. And I don't know who comes next, but I'm excited because it's the music. Thank you, everybody.